Welcome back to the broadcast. It's Tuesday night. It's a little after 7 o'clock. We were getting our technical work together, eating a little Henry's Puffy Tacos. So before every broadcast, we sit down and kind of have this family meal set up. Salo, myself, Tyler, other people who work here in the office, friends. We come in, we sit down, and we share a family meal before we start to get into the broadcast talking about whatever issues are prominent in the day. But today we had Henry's Puffy Tacos, excellent food. Tyler from Wisconsin, all right, is absolutely in love with Henry's Puffy Tacos. I saw him pure joy eating Henry's Puffy Tacos. I think Sal may have had a mango Rita. I'm not sure. I pretty much had water, and I tried to eat chicken soup. But no, we had a great night. We always get started with a little food and fun before we get into the broadcast because sometimes we bring in and talk about heavy topics and issues and things of the day. And today we're going to focus on really these ballot propositions and a few things that we have uncovered. We're calling them the VIA.Leaks. And of course, we're going to pop into them. I'm going to dump a bunch of information on you tonight. But what I want you to take away from this is just what is happening behind closed doors. What they bank on, folks, your vote, right? What they bank on, your vote, your support, what they bank on, what they count on is your lack of knowledge for the issues that are about to be voted on. Because if you don't know, you're probably more likely to go in there and read a simple basic definition on a ballot and hit the button and say yes, right? You're more likely to say yes the fewer bits of knowledge and information you have. You're more likely to say yes because you'll read this ballot proposition that's upside down, doesn't make sense. Sometimes you're voting yes to vote no. Sometimes you're against to be for. It's crazy the way they write ballot items. But the least amount of information you know, the most likely these initiatives are to pass. But when we shine the light on the darkness at City Hall and other government entities in the city of San Antonio, these groups that have been running this city, folks, think about it. The same names and faces for the last 25 to 40 years have been running San Antonio. And it is the same economically segregated, income segregated, right, community in the history of the country. A couple years ago, we were the #1 economically segregated city in the nation. You can't run from those facts or figures. And these same fools that have been running this city for the last 40 years suddenly today have all the answers on how to fix it. But the truth is, the answers always revolve around more money. Remember that commercial, that lightning fast dinero? Remember that one? What was that? Fast cash, fast cash. That's City Hall. That's VIA. That's SAWS. Those are your property taxes. More money coming your way, right? More money into their pockets. Notice they never give money back. They take more money in. So what happens is when we shine the light on these things and we say, okay, look, where is this money going? We want a little accountability. The roaches scurry, right? When you turn the light on in a dark room. Things brighten up and the information is in front of you. So what you want to do is know, okay, where are our tax dollars going? If you know that, you are far more likely to vote against these projects and things they're trying to put together. And that's what they don't want you to know. And today we launched, thankful for a whistleblower within VIA Metropolitan Transit who gave up information and said, look, we have to know where our dollars are going. These are tax dollars that are being charged. We have to know where they're going and how they're being spent, especially when VIA is asking for $45 million more dollars a year. You're asking for $45 million more dollars in new taxes every year starting in 2026 into perpetuity. It's called the ATD Ballot Initiative Item A. On your ballots, about 3 or 4 pages down, it'll say 1/8 cents of a sales tax. Oh, the city will say, hey, these aren't an increase to your taxes. Well, of course they're not an increase to your taxes. The tax cap is maxed out. We can't tax you anymore, right? So we can't raise it on you any further. So they've cut aquifer funding, and now they're trying to get more money for VIA, $45 million a year. A whistleblower stepped up and said, nope. So the question to you in the comments, start thinking about it, share your thoughts. Does VIA really need $45 million a year in new taxes? Do they? We've got the mayor's workforce education program over here on the side. He wants $45 million a year for that. We've got billions going to housing. We've got billions coming over here to equity. We've got billions everywhere flying across this city. and the same people creating the same gaps, the same neighborhoods that have not had a street fixed in 40 years, the same neighborhoods are right now watching these taxes roll through. Never have seen a mayor, barely seen their council person, no clue who they are. Streets and neighborhoods never stay the same. They're always equal, right? Equally bad, right, when you go down to the south side or you're in the west side. These neighborhoods that are historically neglected, right? And now the mayor and city hall run around saying equity, equity, equity. We got to put the money where it matters most. Well, now we're going to uncover where the tax dollars really go because we have a VIA leak that shows us where the money's going. I'm going to knock your socks off with this dump of data and information. And some of it's going to be me reading it to you, unfortunately, because it's so voluminous. This is just the tip of the iceberg right here. These are bills from subcontractors that VIA routinely pays in the hundreds of thousands of dollars for the most ridiculous items you can imagine. Overbilling, overcharging, right? It's like people went to sleep at night at these subcontractor marketing firms. They're asleep at night in their lovely little beds. They're crashed. They're going to sleep. And they had a dream of sugar plum buses riding through San Antonio, right? Full buses, which we know absolutely is a dream, right? A full bus is a mad VIA dream. So these buses are full all across San Antonio. And then that poor person wakes up, right, out of nowhere and says, man, I thought about VIA tonight. I better charge that half-hour work. Here's $155. Thank you, VIA. I thought about you today, so I'm charging you. I'm going to uncover that to you today. Lunches at the Palm, $7,000 videos, helping elected officials craft their talking points for $400. It is a mountain of wasteful spending. We're going to talk about here tonight. We're also going to bring in Clayton Perry. I promised him he would get some time to talk about pre-K, and I got to give that to him tonight. Clayton Perry will be with us here in a little bit, but we want to thank our sponsors. We appreciate the opportunity to film at Align Mortgage of Texas. This is an absolutely beautiful building, and the resources are fantastic for us. We appreciate it. Chris Cano, Cody Carrasquillo, and Tony Diaz, the #1 VA lender in the state of Texas, soon to be the nation. Align Mortgage of Texas. If you're a veteran, you know a veteran, give them a call, right? Own a piece of the land you help to serve and protect, right? Own a piece of this dirt. Call Align Mortgage. Reach out to them, #1 VA lender. We have realtor friends abound that we always want to partner with and help out. Thank you to Brian Pena, the Toronto Realty Group, Susan Bielicki as well. Both of them work hard. They're military specialists. They're first responder specialists. And realtors should always be shopped. Brian, of course, right there, that handsome little devil. And Susan, of course, is a big sponsor from us. Her father, Ray Rodriguez, is a huge friend of the show, and we're thankful for both of them. We want to thank our friends at AAA Garcia Bail Bonds. Louis Garcia, if you get rung up, we always talk about this at the Bexar County Jail. Give Louis a call. He will help you out. And he's a family-owned San Antonio business. Huh?
He'll help you out. Literally.
Yeah, he'll literally help you out. Literally. That's from Salo. So thank you to AAA Garcia Bail Bonds. We appreciate you. And then our boy Tyler Hall at Speedy Salt. Tyler is here with us tonight, getting back in the mix. We love him. The guy knows salt. By the way, Tyler, I've got a water softener. I got to talk to you about it, man. I need salt. And I hear you deliver it. Well, before I even know I need it. Is that true?
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, that was our mock commercial right there. I think it worked. Tyler, we love you at Speedy Salt. We appreciate you, brother. So thank you for all you do. Now, let's see if any of the trolls have hopped on here and are starting to hit us on facts.
Lori said they help the disabled, visually impaired, paratransit takes to take.
Look at Rodney Kidd. Who pays Rodney Kidd to run around and tout his conspiracy theories? The broadcast has no real data to support its wild accusations. Greg's a paid consultant for the Alamo? For Alamo supporter Trista Berry?
Smithers.
Oh my God. Okay, all right, Trista Berry. Okay, we're going to talk about this stuff right now. So here's some information how this works, right? So met with a whistleblower, right? This person reaches out to the show and reaches out to me personally and says, hey, Greg, I want to talk about what I see happening at VIA. The amount of money being spent. And his words, and I quote, right? And I don't mind saying his words. This is what his words are. The words are spoken clearly. I have a problem when our bus drivers can't get a lunch, right? They don't eat lunch. But these vendors, right, these bills that VIA are paying for lunches at the Palm. They're paying for hundreds of dollars of PowerPoint edits, travel time, tribute videos for chairs in the thousands of dollars, karaoke videos. I mean, we're going to go down the list of things. And the whistleblower says, I've got a problem with this because it doesn't make any sense to me why we can't operate on the money and resources we have now. So VIA is asking for $45 million more a year. Vote starts today, right? Voting started today, October 13th, early vote through October 30th. And then November 3rd is the big election day. We know the country's going to go absolutely wild. It's the biggest election we've seen in decades. But VIA is out there saying loud and clear, we're broke. We don't have the money. If we don't get more money. Now, you can say you don't believe me. And let's look at some of these comments. We got anything out there that's jumping out at you? Rodney Kid, calm down. No, VIA does not our tax dollars. VIA tears up our streets. Trolls, uninformed trolls. I love it. Lori Wells, I think you do not comprehend how many people depend on VIA. No, I absolutely comprehend how many people depend on VIA. That's why the buses are always empty, Lori Wells. I appreciate you, whatever you're trying to accomplish.
The discussion is not about eliminating VIA.
Yeah, right. And yeah.
A lot of people think that when you make a comment, you're saying, get rid of VIA.
No, nobody's saying get rid of VIA, right? What we're saying is operate with the funds and resources you have now to the highest and maximum use. That's what you should be doing. Don't add more taxes and dollars to an organization that already is not handling their tax dollars appropriately, and I'm going to show you how. Someone isn't too happy. The truth is about to be spoken. That's right. Rodney Kid still going. Pete Elias, thank you for joining in, man. We appreciate you. It's so easy to ride the bus. VIA, bring back the VIA bus puppets. Actually, the VIA bus puppets never left. We still have got them.
Did you read what Renee said?
What did Renee say? Read it out loud.
The VIA drivers are great. The money's going to those at the top who want more, quoting those who suck the bank dry.
So VIA consultants that are paid, Brockhouse calls bias, but Greg gets paid and he is good at what he does. Sounds hypocritical. Trista Berry doesn't pay me, dude. I'm not on Trista Berry's payroll. Nice try. Rodney Kid, man. You can go look at the her campaign finance reports, my friend. Not out there. Troll. So VIA consultants are paid. Yeah, VIA consultants are paid. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit. Race for sheriff. Pretty sure it's just a reallocation of money and no new taxes. Man, Rodney Kid absolutely does not know. So tired of the attacks on VIA who help the disabled, visually impaired. No, I'm sorry. The attacks on VIA are warranted. I'm going to show you why. So what VIA does here is pretty simple. And I've got an example of the invoice in the back. Here's what VIA does. VIA contracts, right, has a prime contract, first number one contract, with an engineering firm in San Antonio. Straightforward. You'd never think anything of it. They pay tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars to this engineering firm. The engineering firm then takes their money and pays a third-party subcontractor for marketing work on behalf of VIA Metropolitan Transit. So what you have is a removed organization. You have dark money at this point. Money's originated through tax revenue to VIA. Money is then passed over to the engineering firm. The engineering firm then passes it on to a marketing firm in San Antonio who does all this political work, all this type of marketing and outreach for VIA. They do it and then bill back to the engineering firm. And then the engineering firm bills VIA. So what you've got there is you have an arm's length transaction. You have it to where VIA and the marketing firm are never directly connected. They're never directly connected. So if you as a citizen were to go in and say, do an open records request and say, I'd like to see all the marketing dollars VIA has spent, you would not see that transaction going to this marketing firm because it is once removed. It is once removed. It is hidden behind a third party, right? Which in this case is a local engineering firm. So the money goes from one step to the next and then moves over. So you can't open records request this information. Nobody can get their hands on it. And I'm going to give you an example of how these dollars are being spent. I'm going to give you multiple examples, but you should know that VIA's public engagement. Can you put up the one that says VIA budget? I want to show you this one here. This is VIA's budget as it is. And this is the things you don't know as a citizen. Is VIA's budget completely and 100% accurate if they are showing payments to an engineering firm? Because if they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to an engineering firm and then that money's being spent on marketing somewhere else, how is the citizen to know that their tax dollars are being spent into political or campaign work? Because that is exactly what is happening. Do you have that VIA budget? Saulo is looking for it. It's the Mangarita, man. We're behind. So how do we know that the VIA dollars are being spent on political or marketing work when a third-party buffer, an engineering firm is processing the invoices? How do we know? Bring up the VIA budget just real quick so we can take a look at it. Here's VIA's budget. If you look at it right there, public engagement, Senior VP of Public Engagement. You got Public Engagement Administration. If you go all the way to the right on that top line, you'll see their 2020 budget is $2 million. Public Engagement Administration is 1.1. Customer Experience and Sales Marketing there at $2.28 million. That's the dollars that we know are already VIA spending on marketing. $2.2 million in public engagement. Now, we don't know because now we know that dollars are going to an engineering firm and an engineering firm is paying for the marketing. We don't know if that's full or all encompassing. So what I'm about to show you is going to highlight some of these expenditures. But here's the truth. VIA must be audited immediately. You cannot pass, you should not. We're up in the arms to be determined whether or not passing it through a third party is fair at all or if it's legal. Who knows? But VIA must be audited immediately to identify every contract, that I'm going to show you why. Here's an example right here. Can we show this one right here?
Which one?
Let's put the camera back on. Right here. This is an invoice, okay, for $6,500. So Lori Wells, who's commenting up and down, Rodney Kidd, who's saying VIA's fantastic. Greg, stop lying about VIA. I don't need to lie about this. Here it is right here. Can you see that? I can't even see it. My cameraman stepped out. Thanks, Tyler. All right, look at this right here. Very clear. There's no lies right here. $6,500 for a VIA tribute video. Boop, boop, boop. See that? Right here. And this was in June of 2019, right? $6,500. How many bus passes does $6,500 buy for citizens in this city? How many people can ride the bus for free for $6,500? This is a tribute video for the former chair of VIA. She left and came back 2 months later. She didn't even stay gone. They couldn't find somebody to replace her. They threw her a giant party, by the way, somewhere at the Market Center, or God knows where they threw it, Market Square or whatever. They threw an extravagant party for her, and then threw this transit video, this tribute video together, and spent $6,500 of taxpayer money thanking her for her service and wishing her well. Unfortunately, she came back 2 months later because no other qualified persons in the city could do the job, I guess. They had to go back and bring her back. $6,500. Now, put up some more examples. I've got, just kind of go through them one by one we're talking about. I got 4 examples that I want to show you real quick. I'm going to push these out over the next week so you can see Lori and other supporters of VIA. And there are a few of you, right? A broken clock is right twice a day. VIA does have a few supporters that say they do fantastic job. Now, here we go on their resources, right? Are they controlling their resources to a fantastic manner? Let's see. Do you have some of those examples you can put up? Right, here we go. Check on status of meeting and send agenda. Biweekly meeting. Follow up with JG, who's an employee at VIA. Draft VIA at a glance. $535. All right, what next we got? These are just a few of the fun ones, right? This is some extravagant billing. I love this one. My Hispanic Communications billed $7,140 for a Chair Andrade tribute video. By the way, this is in 2019, when VIA is routinely saying they are broke. They do not have the resources to operate. Here's a ViaWorks zoo video shoot. $10,000 in 2 videos. There's so many more videos that are being shot, but $10,000 are being spent. How many bus passes and resources can $10,000 bring to a citizen in this city who needs transportation? If VIA, you're so important, right, and your buses are so incredibly full, how much is Chair Andrade's video, how much does that party you threw her cost that you can now turn around and buy bus passes for people? The truth is, you don't want to answer the question because this expenditure is utterly ridiculous. There's no reason we spent $10,000 on these goofy videos. I get it. She served the board well, and she's a fantastic leader. On board with that. On board with that. I can agree with that. But I wonder how she feels about a $7,000. Somebody should ask Hope Andrade, former Texas Secretary of State, how do you feel about VIA in a period of time when they're broke, allegedly, spending $7,140 on a video thanking you for your time? I mean, the video was like, what, 2 minutes? I don't even think it was a couple of minutes. How $7,000? How do you feel about that, Hope? Somebody reach out and call Hope. Somebody message Hope Andrade. How do you feel about that expenditure on your name, right? At your time leading VIA. And by the way, we never would have known about this if it wasn't for the whistleblower. Never would have known. What's the next one? I love this one right here. This is a fantastic one. This contractor is drafting op-eds and talking points for elected officials. This is what I love. They're drafting talking points and speeches for elected officials and charging VIA, thereby charging taxpayers for those charges. Look at this. Op-ed by Saldana, right? Of course, former Councilman Saldana, one of the biggest advocates for VIA on the city council. They wrote his op-ed for him. How sweet. VIA's own credibility is so weak that they got to write op-eds and go out to other people and ask them to please put their name on it. So this guy, Jonathan Gerwitz, writes the op-ed in the messaging, charges $230 to you, the taxpayer. Now they're going to say, well, hey, look, we're charging VIA. I swear to God, these people need to stop with their disinformation. If they are charging VIA, they are charging the taxpayers. VIA only gets their resources from the citizen taxpayers in the city of San Antonio. You are charging the taxpayers to write this council member's messaging. Ray Saldana, former council member, is one of them. Justin Rodriguez, current state rep. Almost $500 it costs to write your talking points. Christy Villanueva, chair of the West Chamber of Commerce. She received VIA talking points to speak and use. Bob Como, $400 was spent to write his talking points. He is a board member on VIA. $1,100 spent on writing talking points for council members. That, my friends, is utterly ridiculous. $10,000 worth of videos, right? There are things in this list, and it is extravagant, right? This is it right here. This is it right here. Here's the dollars and resources. And we can go through this. And this I'll share with anybody who wants a piece of it because it's not mine. It came from a whistleblower. But there are so many items in here. I'm just going to share some of this as we go through it. There's the chair. The chairs. Woo! Here we go. Right. I'm sorry. I'll make sure I did hit this one. Como speaking points. Edit nomination for Transit Association. List of names. Somebody listed some names. Thank you for that. What's the charge of that? $400. That's interesting. Phone call, $172. Revised and discussed the Connect SA budget with the team. Oh, so the subcontractor revised and reviewed and then discussed the Connect SA budget. But you know what? I'm going to charge the taxpayers $230 for that. That's fair. That sounds really fair. I love this one right here. I don't know if you can even see that one. Can you see that one, Tyler? Can you bring that one on here? Can you get it on there for our... Aha! Look at that, $460, right? Look what it says. Very rough draft of talking points for Justin Rodriguez. Not even a good rough draft. Like, these are very rough draft points. That tells me somebody put a couple of notes down and scribbled some stick figures talking at a microphone, right? Like, that when you get very rough draft points, that's pretty weak. But they did charge $460. $460. You can go through this. It is one piece of list after another. It is nonstop. It does not end. It is expenditure after expenditure. And I can just go down it. I'm going to pull one random page out here and let's have a conversation about it. Here we go. Traveled to VIA. Met with a client. $287. Transit propositions. $29. Correspondence. $29. I mean, the list goes on and on. Travel, $29. Saldana op-ed, $29. Saldana op-ed, $86.25. Katie Harvey, which is the owner, discussed and reviewed a Rivard Report article. This person read a Rivard Report article. Charged $115 for reading a Rivard Report article. Travel back and forth from VIA for a meeting at VIA. This is what I love the most. The subcontractor is traveling to VIA and charging the taxpayer for their travel from their cush little Pearl office space to VIA. And they're saying, well, you know what? I went to a meeting over there and I had some travel time. Why don't you take the bus? First of all, if VIA is so important to you, they're number one. If VIA is so huge, Why aren't you taking a bus? I'm just curious about that. But it's $258.75 that they're going to charge the taxpayers for travel back and forth from VIA. The list goes on and on. The greatest hits do not stop because the spending does not stop. The lack of respect for taxpayer dollars does not stop. It is on and on and on. $357 for creating a PowerPoint. $238 for editing a PowerPoint. You can see the lists are countless. VIA says they're broke. My question to you, and I want you to think about this and put it in the comments below. Does VIA really need the $45 million? Does it matter that they're spending $714 on creating campaign concepts for Viva? Mind you, VIA, like I showed you at the beginning, has a $2.25 million marketing budget, right? They have an internal marketing team, an internal videography team. They've got a team of marketing specialists. Why are they outsourcing through a third party hundreds of thousands of dollars of work that cannot be traced, that's out of the citizen's eyes? This is not to be seen or heard. Nobody knows what this is. This woman, Paulina, right here, met with LJ about booking speakers, drafted an email, sent that email to Rachel and Rick, $386.75, $148 for a phone call, $368 for updated alert, copy, and discuss the recap of a call. Made another call to the San Antonio Manufacturing Association. It's just on and on. $595 had a 5-hour meeting. That must have been a snoozer, man, right? On and on and on. And you can go down the chart here. I got another one. Let's see where it's at. I'm going to flip this one around. This is asinine right here. Let's get this going. Can we get that up there now? Right here. See that, people? Lunch. $357 for lunch at the Palm. I know it's the Palm because I saw the meeting reminder. Working lunch with Rachel. Okay. Hey, man. I don't know about how many of you have working lunches. Most of mine are at Tinka Taco, and we have a couple of... Salo and I have a chicken fajita taco. We may have a coffee or tea. May throw a little cinnamon in it. We get a little wild sometimes. The bill may come out to $21. That's our working lunch. Not $357 for fancy lunches. Remember, bus drivers do not eat. This is the whistleblower's #1 complaint. Why are we spending all these resources, all these dollars, and our poor bus drivers are struggling to get a bathroom break and get a lunch? That kind of anger is what ticks people off. VIA does not need the $45 million. They don't need it. Not if they can spend hundreds upon hundreds of dollars on hundreds of line items being billed and charged on behalf. And some of these receipts are $87,000, $90,000. Travel to Port San Antonio, $172.50. Look at that. Can you get that in on the screen? $172.50. Travel to Port San Antonio for a board meeting. Folks, you cannot make this up. $172.50. Travel to a Port San Antonio Samco board meeting. It was an hour and a half, $172.50. You go right down this list of items. Meeting with, oh, by the way, this Gerwitz gentleman right here, meeting with JGH in LA. Those are VIA employees. Traveled to VIA. That's a hefty day, man. That's a tough day. There are people struggling in the city, but this man, he's having a tough day when he has a meeting and he has to drive to VIA from the Pearl. That's a tough day. That's worth $201.25. You cannot make this up. Corridor plan, $86. More messaging, $29. It's just endless spending and overbilling. Now you're going to say, Greg, some will say, that's how it is in the corporate sector. We're going to leak more of this out and share this with you because it's ridiculous. And we got to get to some pre-K talk because I promised Clay Perry we would. So here's the problem, and I got one more thing I want to show you before we wrap this up. You can't ask for 45. I'm sorry. It takes a lot to compile all this. I feel bad. Had to scan it, and I was at Office Depot, and it took an hour just to scan it. That's how much government waste is occurring in this packet of information. Now, you can say, and seriously, that's how corporate America is. That's how billing by the hour works. You know, if I think about it, I'm going to bill it. That's billing by the hour, man. That's fair. Not in corporate America, yes. Maybe that's how you do it. Maybe that's how you make your money and earn your dollars. With your citizen tax dollars, though, that's not how you treat citizens. I'm sorry. You cannot possibly argue that that is fair billing on the citizen dime in a contract that is buried in a prime contract to VIA. So VIA is never directly cutting these people these checks. That's what makes it egregious. Citizens would not know if it was not for the whistleblower. I think this is relevant because they are asking for $45 million a year forever. And there are facts we know. The buses are empty. COVID has drastically affected their bus service even further. They obviously cannot handle their dollars. You can't argue with me and say, well, Greg, $10,000 videos, those were needed. We needed $7,000 videos for Hope Andrade. She was that great. So we should spend $15,000 on a video and a party for her. Why not? Well, I'll tell you why. Because you proclaim to be busted, broke, zero. Your talking points, and I didn't get to release this, but I'm going to release some of this a little later on. VIA themselves are talking about themselves being chronically funded. Here's their talking points, their main points on how they're going to tell the city that they're busted. They have no more money. It's insane. Expense reductions are needed. Monitoring and oversight. So we must immediately call for a review of all VIA contracts. I'm sorry. You can't think this is okay. It's not okay to bill like this, not on taxpayer dollars. If that marketing firm wants to make that cash and wants to do that, they probably shouldn't be in government work. Or at least be understanding these are government tax dollars from an allegedly underfunded VIA. And they're poking their eyes out. It's like literally they woke up in the morning and wrote down, had that dream about that damn VIA bus again. Better charge that $115. Come on. It's wrong. It's wrong. No matter what you think of me, my message, whatever, you cannot defend the fact that this spending is wrong. These charges are wrong. And VIA is writing it like it's a blank check through a company that we don't know anything about. That makes it wrong. And here's one more thing I want to show you. We'll wrap up with this little dog. Can you squeeze in on this one right here? Right here, this little sideways piece right here. Jonathan and Katie, our planning department is working with GCR, that's internal marketing to VIA, to use data to show the benefits of the VIA Reimagined plan. That's what VR is, including economic impact. What are your thoughts on perhaps creating an economic impact report by VIA, informed by VIA, but written and produced by an outside expert, maybe an economist? This is VIA's chief strategic officer saying we should write a report. Her words, create the report, and then find a third party willing to publish it. Do you have that little of credibility that you're gonna have a third party do this work for you? You're gonna create the report. It's like if you're in politics, and you want to do a public opinion poll because you want to know where your positives and negatives are, and you say, "Hey, I'm giving this to the polling company. I sure would like my poll to read these exact facts right here. I need them to read these exact facts. I need them to show me at a 58% approval rating. Can you do that for me, third party? Because I want it to look third party. I don't want to look like our fingers are in it. Right here." Now, somebody can say, well, maybe she just used the wrong word. Well, people speak the truth on their internal emails, not when they're out in the face of public, right? This is truth. VIA wants a third party to publish a report that they created so that it looks like the third party is in support. And they named a guy to do it, and his name is Steve Niven, Dr. Steve Niven from St. Mary's University, who just completed the workforce education economic impact report being touted by Mayor Ron Nirenberg. He completed that report saying the world is going to explode with love and chocolate rivers if we do this workforce education. It's going to be gold flying everywhere. $85 for every dollar we spend in workforce. It's going to be fantastic. By the way, Steve Niven said that about streetcar. He said that about pre-K. He said that about mission reach. He said that about museum reach. He said every time an economic impact report is needed that shows glowing Oompa Loompas walking around in chocolate rivers, they call Steve Niven. Steve Niven produces these reports. He's named as the go-to third party in here. It's on the second page. You can't see it. That's how the city plays the game. They create these economic impact reports so it looks like momentum, and we need you. You need to do this. You need to vote for this now. And then they put it out there as third party. Look at all the support we have. Then they get supported by the media on this. I'm sorry to say it, but I'm going to put it out there. The media is complicit in being bought off by some of these folks because it makes sense to not piss off City Hall so they can continue to get their stories. Wrong. It's broken. The only way we're going to fix San Antonio and get this straight is to kick this out, is to get rid of it. You can't waste this kind of money. And you cannot, under any circumstances, defend those kinds of expenditures. I don't care who you are. Fine. Hate me all you want politically. Think I'm the biggest fool that ever walked the ground of the earth. Think I'm only doing it for this. Whatever. Say whatever you want to say about it. But you can't hide from the facts. You cannot hide from the fact that they spent $357 on a lunch, $7,000 on a video. Right? Well, everyone's very happy. An open records request is free. It is the law. By the way, they're not releasing. You can't find this information on an open records request. Thank you for mentioning that. We must do all we can to shine the light on it. Buses are empty. They want $45 million. We don't know what their plan is. It's a broke system. It's too many tax dollars. You got to say no to that, and you got to say no to workforce education, which the Express News has a story talking about being half-baked as is. It's not even a completed program, and they want $45 million a year, which leads me to the third item, and I promised Clayton Perry we'd talk about pre-K. Clayton! He had to sit there and listen to me rant about.
Oh boy, a lot of rant.
Hey man, you were on a neighborhood meeting, man.
I was there with you last week. Man, I can't believe it's been a week.
I know. Let's get this out of here. We don't want to.
Right,
we don't want to cloud you with the dust
let me take this
conspiracy.
hat off and get comfortable here,
brother.
Yeah. All right.
City Hall, man. City Hall is a mess.
Yeah.
Big votes going. Today's the first day of early vote.
Right.
Share your thoughts. Got any questions for Clayton? We'll try to keep the best track of them as we can. We've got a couple of haters out there, Clayton. Already,
Yeah,
but
I understand that. We had some last week also. And last week we did talk about workforce training and VIA. And my attitude on both of those, and I express my opinions on that. Mm-hmm. That's what I was able to research and come up with, and it sounds like you've come up with a little bit more here. So we'll see how this all plays out. But people, make sure that you go out and do some more research on these before you vote on these things. And I've got grave concerns that we're spending a lot of money on things that we really don't need to be spending on at this point. And I have to say that I got the same concerns about pre-K for SA, and that's what I'm here to talk about today because we weren't able to fit it in last week. But
we got a big crowd watching. So
yeah, all right, cool. Well, first off, I'm not against pre-K education. I think you support pre-K education also, but what I'm saying is this city does not need to run an entire education system. We have public schools, we've got charter schools, we got private schools, we got the Head Start program, and all of these programs, they all offer some kind of pre-K services. And the last legislature actually funded our public schools to offer that for a full day now. So there are some schools that are still ramping up, had a little problem with this COVID, obviously, on getting that going, but they're funded for that. And I'm saying they're going to continue to fund that because they know how important it is. Steve Allison, the 121 rep, he is very involved with that, and he has a commitment out there to keep supporting that. So why does a city have to come up and have an entire school system? And a lot of people don't understand that it only serves 2,000 kids a year. There's probably a little over 40,000 children here in San Antonio that could use that service. But there's only serving 2,000 kids each year. That's all they have room for. But guess what the price tag is? Over $40 million a year. Do the math on that. That's over $20,000 per child. That's insane. Our public schools spend a little bit over $9,000 per child. So if you just do the math on that, that's an incredible expenditure for only 2,000 kids. That's my number one concern. Now, they'll say that, well, They gave over $20 million away over the last 8 years to other school systems. Okay? What did they do with that money? Well, we're not quite sure, but we think it went to, educating and getting their teachers lifted up to this quality teacher status. And I said, well, what's a quality teacher? Well, there's no real definition other than they need more training. And I just get a hard knock on that, because we have a lot of quality teachers out there in our public school systems, charters, private, and to go up to them and say, well, you're not a quality teacher, I've got a problem with that, and I suspect a lot of public school teachers have a problem with that also. But that's their terminology in pre-K for SA, that they're not quality teachers. Only they are quality teachers in pre-K for SA. So
that's a good point. And speaking on behalf of teachers on that one, I will say this. When we were on a council, I sat down and they came and presented to us, pre-K for SA did, and they presented, and the director of pre-K for SA, Dr. Sarah Beret, well-qualified, PhD, fantastic person, knows her business. But she did state very clearly that they have the best teachers and the most highly qualified, I can't even remember the term she used, but it infuriated me because I thought for a second, my wife is a teacher. And I thought to myself, and I said something.
Yeah, you did.
I was like, hey, excuse me. There are tens of thousands of great teachers in this city. Just because you're paying them more than anybody else. And they do pay them more. I think it's somewhere in a range of
they pay them
$65,000, $75,000 a year.
Yeah, like twice.
Yeah, and a 4-year a 5-person teaching 5 years with a master's degree, like my wife. She's got 14 years in teaching now. But back then, when it came on board, she was at about $48,000 to $52,000 a year, and the pre-K teachers north of that, $65,000 to $70,000 a year. So that is on behalf of teachers. They literally do say they have the most qualified, gifted teachers in the city. It is, it is on when you say that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt this.
No problem. But yeah, only 2,000 kids a year. But then this, let's talk about this other $20 million that they gave away over 8 years. No metrics to substantiate what really happened to that money. There's nothing out there. And that's, to me, thrown away money, because if you don't know what it's going to and you don't know what the results are, why do that? Why do that at all? And they say that over these last 8 years, they have uplifted over 450,000 children in San Antonio. What an incredible number out there. $20 million. They were able to lift up 450,000 children, whereas their system is $40 million per year for only 2,000 children. I'm saying, well, to me, it's a much better return on investment if we take that $20 million over 8 years and then give that to the schools, and let's continue that 450,000 children per year instead of $40 million a year for 2,000 children. To me, it's all about the numbers and what the return on investment is. To me, it makes no sense. And for them to be coming in for reauthorizing this for another 8 years at over $40 million a year, and their projection is to, again, give away over $20 million over this next 8 years, and these grants again. I'm saying absolutely not. If this gets approved, we want to see some data. We want to see some metrics. We want to see some what is the real return on investment on that. And there's been a lot of debate whether this pre-K education system will last all the way through through high school. Once they hit the 3rd grade, they are then in the public schools or private schools, and will they maintain that advantage that they got in pre-K services all the way through graduating from high school? And there's been some talk that, well, they really don't retain that they will be at the same level as their peers when they get through high school. So it's all about the teaching methods and that kind of thing. But again, this is a lot of money every year, $40 million, that we're operating our own school system when the state has already funded our public school system to do this full day. And, there's other school systems that provide it as well. So why are we having to pay for an entire school system here in San Antonio? And this was all started by Julian Castro and supported by a lot of administration, a lot of upper folks that kind of gave him a feather in his cap to do this and funded out of city resources and recognize him nationwide on future opportunities.
Well, let's recap. So just so voters know, so we're very clear what they're voting on, because this is very important. People, I don't think, even know that they're going to catch this, what's coming on the ballot. So you've got 3 propositions. Pre-K is listed as Proposition A for a 1/8 cent sales tax reauthorization from an 8-year program, roughly $40 to $45 million a year for another 8 years, is it?
Yes.
Another 8 years. So you're voting for pre-K for another 8 years. Somebody asked the question, what happens to the buildings? What happens to all that money if it gets voted away? Well, if the tax isn't reauthorized, the tax returns back to the citizen, right? So right now the tax rate in total, the sales tax rate in the city is 8.25%. That 0.25% is split between 0.125 to pre-K and 0.125 right now to the Aquifer and Linear Parks projects. That's how it's split. The mayor has removed the Aquifer funding. Don't forget this, people. He took and kicked out and cut the Aquifer and Linear Parks funding. Now, he got somebody on the side, right? The city found $100 million, in the city couch. There's a couch at the city, I'm sure, and somebody found $100 million in the couch, and they were able to fund some portion of Aquifer money, but it is a 75% cut to Aquifer funding. Don't get misled by City Hall when they say we've funded and fully funded Aquifer. No, they haven't. And they cut the parks budget out completely cut out.
The linear parks.
The linear parks. And the linear parks are a fantastic program.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely utilized across the entire city. Now, that is going to now be voted on for the mayor's workforce education program, which is City Proposition B. That's for $45 million a year for 4 years. And then VIA takes that tax in 2026, January 1st, forever, in perpetuity. VIA gets the tax. Notice how workforce has a cap on its time. Pre-K has a cap on its time. VIA is forever. Like, VIA has no cap, which is insane to me. So together, that's a 1/4 total point right now. And I consider workforce and workforce and VIA to be new taxes. You cannot separate the program from the taxes. They go hand in hand. If you have a new program, you have new spending. These are new taxes, folks. They're new charges to you to pay for workforce and to pay for VIA if they pass. But pre-K is an ongoing tax, and it's a lot of money for about 2,000 kids. That is a hardcore fact. Now, somebody did comment about the great professional development that comes as a result of pre-K using that money. But here's another fact I want to remind you folks of. The money for workforce, the 1/8 cent sales tax, goes to pre-K. It's a little known fact. It gets in the weeds.
Yeah.
It gets in the weeds of governance. But when workforce education collects their money, it goes to the San Antonio Early Education Municipal Development Corporation. Pre-K gets the money, and pre-K spends it. So pre-K is actually getting...
They're getting a lot of money.
A lot of money. $80 million plus a year. Is that not is that accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason that it has to go through there, because we got a cap on how many of these municipal development corporations we can actually create here in the city. Because can you imagine if there were no caps on that, how many we would have with all these different programs going on? So there is a cap on that, so we can't go over that. And that's why it's having to be funneled through pre-K for SA. And that's a lot of money to be going through that organization. But that's the way it's set up for right now. And that's actually in the ballot language about that particular corporation handling the VIA and the workforce training. Yeah.
It's a lot of money, and it's a big vote. And these things, I think, matter now more than ever. And when you have the mayor running around screaming pandemic relief, these things are going to save the city now. These programs now.
No, nothing is now. No. It's all in the future.
Right.
Even this workforce training, as I said last week, it won't happen for another 2 to 4 years when kids start graduating from those programs. And what's going to keep them in San Antonio? They're going to go where the wages are great. you know, they're going to move on to Austin, Houston, Dallas, those places, and those cities are going to be very thankful for that training that San Antonio put them with our tax dollars.
Yeah,
getting them trained up.
So you hit pre-K well. Don't forget, and I think you bring up a great point about workforce education. 50% of the people won't even finish the program, folks.
Now, let me tell you.
We know 30% for sure, but it's up to 50.
You know, all of a sudden that number has changed. Now it's up to 80%. Overnight, it was 50%. And then when I picked up on that, I said, are we going to waste half of that $150 million because the expectation is only 50% graduation? That's throwing away $75 million right off the top. And now they've upped it to 80%.
That are going to graduate.
Yeah, that they're going to graduate and find jobs for. Now, if you look at the stats from Alamo Community College, their graduation rates are less than 50%. So people are reaching to sell this program, and those numbers have changed, and the numbers are still changing. Not from what we first got briefed at council. They have now changed again, and I was shocked last night when I saw that. In fact, I even said, somebody's really trying to sell this program to change the graduation rates.
Yeah, we know consistently. Whatever workforce program you look at, whether they have wraparound services or whatever workforce program you're looking at least a minimum of 30% do not complete the program. It is as high as 50. The average, we've seen multiple research studies, so 50% do not finish the program. But the mayor was on television the other day, and he said, hey, look, we're going to do better than all of them. Ron Nirenberg said, we're going to do better than all of them. I expect it to be 80% are going to graduate. We're going to be the best. When consistently, historically, by the data, the return on the investment is less or equal to 50% or less, don't even finish the program. $75 million gone of taxpayer resources. No mechanism to get the money back.
Nope.
And when the Express News writes clear as day that that the program itself is half-baked, right? It is not completed, and they're asking for a vote. That is dead wrong. You and Roberto Trevino, coincidentally, both voted against putting these items on the ballot, which is a courageous vote at a city hall that against you.
He's actually putting a CCR together right now, and we talked about it this morning, to actually dip into that initial CARES Act money. $75 million that's sitting in a bank since June, and we haven't touched it. We haven't touched it at all.
Clayton just went whistleblower.
It's parked in a bank account waiting for this program to even get started. The program hadn't started, but we've had this money since June just sitting there. And so what we're trying to do is get some of that money pulled out of there and support some of our businesses like the hospitality industry.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, because they're sitting there closing their doors, laying people off, and that's creating an even bigger problem than what we have today. So we're going to try to get after some of that money that's sitting in a bank, doing nothing, and putting against helping businesses out there. That's what I've been saying since the very get-go.
And a lot of these,
very little against businesses.
A lot of these jobs, I like to call a lot of these people who are doing the job that are sitting in the San Antonio Economic Development Foundation, City Hall, Workforce, all these organizations, they're job snobs is what they are.
Yeah.
And when I call a job snob in politics, to me, is somebody who thinks that we got to train these citizens to be biotech warriors.
Yeah, well,
we got to train them to be engineers. We got to rise we got to rise these people up to be in the biosciences warfares, the green energy future, right?
Yeah.
Like to try to build these massive jobs that, in reality, when you take a step back, the people losing their jobs are the tipped workers at hotel rooms.
Absolutely.
The bartenders. The folks working in grocery stores making $8.50, $9 an hour, the janitorial workers, the custodial workers at these hotels.
Absolutely.
Those aren't the ones that are going to get retrained into being bioscience warriors or engineers or whatever, right?
But they're going to try. They're going to try. They're actually, this system is designed to poach out of the hospitality industry and try to retrain them into better paying jobs. In the biosciences, 10,000 jobs available today, so he says. Another technology, another 7,000 jobs available today. I have a hard time believing that, but that's what he's saying. But those people aren't going to be trained overnight.
No,
it's
a
2 to 4 year program. And that's what I'm saying. these businesses and people need help now and not 2 to 4 years down the road. And that's what this program is designed to do. And you mentioned Steve Niven a while ago. I always look at those reports kind of sideways and kind of second guessing a lot of that stuff, because who's paying his salary on these reports? The city is. And you think he's going to write a report that gives the city a bad name or a bad recommendation? No. Heck no. He's going to put every flowery word on it that he can so he can keep that consulting job, very, very well paid consulting job, with the city. And we use him time and time and time again. I think we need to look at using other consultants out there and not just go to one economist that knows what this city council or the mayor wants to hear. So I got a big problem with that too. I got a lot of problems with a lot of things on city council.
I have a problem with city council and city hall too. We have a joint problem with city council and city hall. But look, hey man, we appreciate you. Great points on pre-K. That wraps up actually our conversation for the 2 weeks overall. 3 amendments. 3 propositions. The votes are coming. Voting is happening today. Lines are off the charts today.
Out of there.
It's hard to say. People are prognosticating. What does it mean? Long lines in the north side, long lines over here. I don't know. I'm hearing from friends on the north side that districts 8, 9, and 10 coming out in droves. The old timers are sitting waiting. The lines are 2 to 3 hours long. Yep. Then you go into the west side. Lines are around the building. People are waiting to vote over there. It's the most consequential election we've seen in decades in our country, and it's a fantastic time to be an American. I don't care what you say about our country or how you trash it or whatever you say about our city. Like Ron and his cronies like to run around and say we're an economically segregated, racist city who's systemically broken. It's a goddamned city. That's Ron Nuremberg's words, right? That's not the city I know and love. That's not San Antonio that I grew up in. That's none of it, man. It makes no sense to me. We're still the damn greatest city, right? I'll call it that. It's a damn good city, all right? And I'll say it, fine, okay? I'm going to get aggressive about it. I believe it. But to sit there and say that we're this broke misrepresentation of America, we got a bad, broke, corrupt police department, we're just broke. I miss the days when people just loved San Antonio even though we disagreed with them. I could have cared less about Phil Hardberger, his politics and policies, but it was a great time period. Nelson Wolff, when he led, Henry Cisneros, even though they were more partisan, it wasn't like that decades ago the way it is now. And the way it is now is hyper partisan. I attribute that to Julian Castro all day long, destroying the friendliness of our city and our politics. Blame that on Julian Castro all day long, and you can blame the economic segregation on him. It's just a bunch of crap that goes to his tenure as mayor. But we got to get back to that. These votes, best you can do is, hey man, research them, know what you get going in there. And of course, we're against taxation at this point. If you vote no, you get a tax cut. That's the fact. You can't run from that. We don't want to cut VIA and eliminate VIA. We both have supported VIA in the past.
Absolutely.
And before COVID, I was a big supporter of them. But COVID hit and times have changed, man. Taxation has changed. Small business support has changed. Accountability for tax dollars has changed as a result of COVID-19. So while we were supporters in the past, now we're accountability specialists, and that's what you're mastering at City Hall. You got a meeting this week, right? Thursday?
No, actually, we don't have any meeting this week.
Is it the 3rd? Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
No meeting this week. I'm on vacation. No, not really.
Don't say that, brother. We're live.
No, I'm not on vacation.
Hey, we appreciate you, man. Keep knocking it cold down there. Thank you for all you do. We appreciate you. Be prepared. We're going to push some more of this information out. It's not right. Okay, I don't care how you think or what you think of me or my politics or anything of the sort. Whether you vote for me, don't vote for me, whether you hate me, who cares? You can't run from the fact of the clear misuse of taxpayer resources. We are not a corporate America business that you can build just because you breathe a thought about VIA, right? You owe this to the taxpayers to be responsible. VIA owes it to make sure that they release all information. We need an immediate audit of VIA. City Council, where are you? Where are you, Ron Nuremberg? You put a mailer out yesterday saying you support VIA and their $45 million. Why aren't you standing up and saying, why are we spending this money on this ridiculous these videos, these $400 lunches? What's wrong with us? Why can't we have total transparency at VIA? I don't know. What's it look like at SAWS? We should be asking those questions. CPS Energy. It's your money, folks. It's taxpayer-funded resources. It's all your dollars. We appreciate you. Get out and vote. Early vote goes October 13th to October 30th. Election Day is November 3rd. We will be back next Tuesday. Gonna be having a ton of fun. Be prepared for more VIA.Leaks as they come out. We appreciate you. Get back to sleep, San Antonio. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Beat COVID. Broadcast is out. But they weren't like completely trashing.